You scrimped and saved, and now that car in the poster pinned to your wall is in your garage. But if it's one of these, make sure you saved enough to keep it running. The modern automobile is a collection of precision engineering that can deliver miles of thrills via liberal application of the right foot or a luxurious ride in comfort and convenience. But in some cases, all that comes at a cost in keeping the car on the road and not at the mechanic. For some cars, it simply becomes the cost of admission. But if you're looking for some secondhand luxury, you might end up in a car you don't want to drive further than you're willing to be towed back. No matter how many BEVs come to market, the Tesla Model S remains the flagship of electric cars, attracting blue shells all the way. Despite several predictions of their demise, Tesla has gone from success to success, with the Model S exceeding expectations in most cases. But there are some gremlins that just can't be avoided. Any new model of a car goes through growing pains, and the Model S is more than just a new model, it's a whole new car company. While the Tesla Model S has top safety tests, reliability has been a bit more of a struggle. Externally, the Model S hasn't changed much, but inside the Silicon Valley car company has acted like a Silicon Valley company with constant upgrades and added complexity. Anyone who's had their phone update only to have it suddenly not work right knows the pitfalls of that practice. In 2017, upgrades to the suspension added complexity, and like clockwork, increased instances of failure. Making matters worse, a Tesla isn't exactly the kind of car you can just take to the mechanic down the street. No brand has so much cultural cachet while also having a reputation for unreliability like Jaguar. Jaguar has created some of the most beautiful looking cars ever made, with the iconic E-Type being one of only 2 cars put on display at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. As striking and beautiful as just about any Jaguar is, they're equally notorious for being finky at best. That well-earned reputation has persisted even into the modern age, despite a 2015 restructure that was meant to address the brand's notorious reliability issues. The E-Type's spiritual successor, the F-Type, gets a 2 out of 5 rating for reliability from J.D. Power, with problems increasing the more you succumb to the temptation to use the car as intended, and things get even worse when you upsize to its stablemate, the F-Pace. The F-Pace is actually ranked worst in reliability, with many problems centered around the now ubiquitous infotainment systems. Which makes sense. Jaguars struggled with electricity issues, when all they had to do was power the lights and start the car. All this leads to a complicated relationship the owners of Jaguars have, perfectly summed up in the movie The Gumball Rally.
It's a handsome design.
I wish it ran.
Joe Walsh's Maserati may do 185, but since its legendary birdcage days, the Trident brand has struggled under some rough parentage, including a weirdly cyclical relationship with Chrysler. But that's a topic for another day. Maserati's current owner is Fiat, who also owns Ferrari. With the 2 Italian sports car rivals under one roof, team orders had become a thing over the last 20 years, with Maserati in the number 2 position to the prestige brand Ferrari. The result has been a series of cars that have Ferrari's quirks, but not Ferrari's speed. That means that expensive is a relative term. Drive a Maserati off the lot and you're plopping down 6 figures. A short 8 years later, and you're selling that car for certified pre-owned Camry money. But make sure you still have some left over, because that dip in resale value is down to persistent reliability issues and high maintenance cost. The binders are off at the Triton now, and the MC20 hopes to re-establish that life has been good to me reputation, but time will tell. The iconic Land Rover is practically the symbol of exploration and the safari. The go-anywhere, tough as nails, British answer to the Willys Jeep in World War II has had a similar trajectory to its American cousin, with its civilian reputation outpacing its military origins. While early Land Rovers suffered under the persistent issues that come with using Lucas electrical components, modern Land Rovers, and specifically their upmarket cousin, the Range Rover, suffers under the parentage of Jaguar, with all the accompanying reliability issues that goes with that. The brand that popularized the luxury SUV has garnered a well-earned reputation for breaking down. Like the Tesla and Jaguar, air ride suspension that is meant to provide a smooth ride adds complexity to a truck already suffering from complexity and is prone to early and expensive failure. While Lucas no longer provides the spark, electrical problems haven't gone away, and Range Rovers are prone to oil leaks. This does mean that the status symbol badge can be bought used for cheap, but the money you saved buying it will go straight to your favorite mechanic. Cadillac Cadillac has joined the fray and gone BMW M3 hunting with the Cadillac ATS Performance Sedan and has managed to match BMW in the regrettable cost of maintenance. Once upon a time, Cadillac was so much of a gold standard for cars that when someone wanted to say they were the best, they called themselves the Cadillac of whatever it is they made. Even top-tier healthcare plans are called Cadillac plans. But lately, Cadillac hasn't managed to even be the Cadillac of Cadillacs. Once the symbol that you've arrived, now arriving is not a guarantee. The ATS specifically has landed on Consumer Reports' list of luxury cars to avoid. Aside from issues with a futzy Q interface and a wheezy 2-liter turbocharged power plant saddled with a 6-speed transmission that doesn't match competitor vehicles, its below average reliability make it a pass for people looking for an alternative to the Bavarian standard bearer. The BMW M3 has been a long favorite of automobile journalists, but that relationship hasn't always been smooth sailing. For the 2020 model, things are on the more tragic side. No less than 6 recalls have made the sports sedan decidedly less than ultimate. That's caused Consumer Reports to give the 3 Series a 1 out of 5 in predictor reliability, pushing the usually reliable top 10 contender to 11th out of 16 comparable models. When you couple it with BMW's notoriously high repair cost, it might be best to go with an earlier model. Surely there's an unmolested E30 left in this world. Just kidding, there's not. The Ferrari 348 is the product of a singular philosophy. Ferraris are finely tuned machines with a singular purpose: to drive fast. Founder Enzo Ferrari has a wealth of quotes that indicate his dedication to speed and how to get there. He didn't like mirrors because he thought that whatever was behind you wasn't important. He thought aerodynamics were for people who didn't know how to build engines. He notoriously brushed off concerns about reliability so callously that it caused the customer to found rival Lamborghini. Enzo wanted to race, and he viewed his road cars as a means to that end. With that kind of founding philosophy, it stands to reason that reliability might not be the highest priority. Even given that, journalist and enthusiast Doug DeMuro would like you to know that his Ferrari 360 was the most reliable car he's owned. That would make it a step up from its earlier version, the Ferrari 348. The evolution of the once unloved but breathtaking 246 dyno, the mid-engine 348, has issues with things like its chain tensioner and transmission. That can cause the already expensive to repair Ferrari to have very expensive failures. This is on top of anyone skimming Hemmings for projects being able to find more fire-damaged Ferraris than one would assume. Ferruccio Lamborghini may have been unsatisfied with Enzo Ferrari's attitude towards customer complaints, but it's not like his big V12 offerings lend themselves to daily use. Lamborghinis have a reputation for being more aspirational than usable, from the unique doors that were designed to open upwards so the driver has an easier time leaning out to look behind them for parking due to poor visibility inside the car, to their wide track that takes up more space than you would assume. Lamborghinis are not really at home on the road as much as they are on posters or garage displays. Now in the hands of the Volkswagen Group and the careful tutelage of Audi, the baby Lamborghinis have been borrowing from Audi's more reliable parts bin, making the V10 models more usable, but they can't escape issues. Like the Huracan's tendency to boil its brake fluid on hot days, when you get into the V12 models, heat becomes an even bigger issue. Even if nothing breaks, regular maintenance comes at a premium, with $1,000 oil changes and $2,000 for a set of tires. The fellas at Top Gear contend that every auto enthusiast should at some point own an Alfa Romeo.
The brand new Alfa Romeo Giulia Quattro Formaggio, I think.
But like boat ownership, the 2 happiest days of your life might be the day you buy it and the day you sell it. And that tradition remains with the Alfa Romeo Giulia. Alfa has returned to the United States after pulling up stakes in the mid-90s. It had been riding the fame garnered from being the car from The Graduate, even naming an option package after the movie. Now that they're back, they're just like we remember them. Attractive, stylish, a joy to drive, and close friends with your local mechanic. How bad is it? Consumer Reports figures you only have a 13% chance of not breaking down in the first 3 years.
There must be something wrong with it.
Looks good though. Despite that tragic level of reliability, 73% of owners recommend the car. Alphas aren't about logic, they're about romance. The Bugatti Veyron has 2 legendary names, Ettore Bugatti's brand and his favorite driver, Pierre Veyron. But it's another legendary racing name that gave birth to the singular purpose car, Ferdinand Piëch. Piëch is the grandson of another legendary Ferdinand Porsche. Carrying on his grandfather's legacy, he was responsible for the Porsche 917, perhaps one of the greatest race cars ever made. As the head of the Volkswagen Group, Piaget was looking for a way to demonstrate the W engine, which features 4 banks of cylinders in a W configuration, like 2 V-configured engines combined. The W16 of the Veyron and subsequent models produces 4-digit horsepower that previously was reserved for the Can-Am version of the 917. By buying the defunct French brand, Piaget restarted the top speed wars that now has limited production cars capable of both doing 300 miles per hour and wearing license plates. With sticker prices in the multiples of millions, we may never see someone drive a Bugatti far enough to know if it's reliable, but just keeping it in fighting shape takes the GDP of a small country. Just replacing the tires costs more than a brand new Toyota GR86, and that's just the tires. But once you ponied up the asking price, money isn't something that concerns you.